Are you struggling to trust God, especially in difficult circumstances? Today we want to have a look how the people of Israel went 40 years through the wilderness in the most difficult circumstances and lacked nothing. So I'm going to read a verse from Deuteronomy 2 verse 7. For the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He knows you're walking through this great wilderness. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you. You have lacked nothing. When the people of Israel walked through the desert, they had no supplies to fall back on. Every day they completely relied on God's care and provision. And God knew exactly what they needed, and He cared about them and provided in every detail what was necessary. Looking back on the 40 years, we read that God was with them and that nothing was lacking. How wonderful is God's provision and care. First point, God provided their daily food. Every morning the people of Israel had bread of heaven that they could gather. And this is so beautiful that God gave them a perfect food in the midst of nothing, the wilderness. There God made sure that they had the best bread they could ever get. And even then, when they complained and asked for meat, the Lord sent them quail. So everyone was completely satisfied by that what God gave them in these 40 years, day after day. Second point, God made sure that they were refreshed. Of course, when you walk through the wilderness, you get tired, you get thirsty. And this is the reason why God provided water for them. Every day, enough water for everyone. Even then, when there was no water, God opened the rock to let water come out. Or He made bitter water sweet. How wonderful is God's provision. It's not always our way of thinking, but God provides in different ways, and He makes sure that we get the refreshment we need on our way through this wilderness. Third point, God gave them guidance. The people of Israel had no clue where they have to go. And so God made sure that they had a good guide, so to say, a cloud for the day and a fire for the night. So whenever the people of Israel had to go, they knew it. Whenever they had to stop and rest a while, they knew it as well. God was the perfect guide in the wilderness, and so He is for us today. Fourth point, God provided clothing and shoes. This is absolutely remarkable because we know that it is a long time the people of Israel went through the desert. And there were so many people, so that means they needed a lot of clothing and shoes. But God had a greater way to provide. He just made sure that the clothing and shoes did not wear out during that time. This is so astonishing because we know how quickly our clothing are worn out. So God has His way of caring and providing. This is just another point to trust Him more. Fifth point, God cared for the health condition. We read that God gave them the health condition they need to have in order to pass through the desert. And we read as well that God made sure that the food were not swollen during that time. Oh, how wonderful is God. So we see every detail is in God's mind and He cares for everything. So when we look at this God, we know that this God is our God too. He's not only our God, but also our Father. And in His fatherly care, He is caring about us. Every day we are the subject of His divine care. and He will provide all our needs. This is a reason to be encouraged and strengthened to follow Him and to do that what is pleasing Him.